Good day, and welcome to the 7th episode of the For the Win Force Technique Workshop. My name is Gabriel Quenville, and I am the reconditioning specialist for the Canadian Armed Forces out here at Base 4 in Cold Lake. And I'm a clinical exercise physiologist certified through the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology. Today, we'll be looking at specific tips and tricks to help us improve on the intermittent loaded shuttles component of the force test. And in a couple weeks from now, I'll be helping you guys working on a program that will help you improve your fitness and endurance for this test specific. Stay tuned, and if you haven't seen the other episodes of the For the Win Force Technique Workshop, check them out, linked in the description below. The first common mistake that I find people make when they're coming into the line and depositing the bag and going into their next unloaded shuttle is that they're not paying consideration over where the sandbag is. Oftentimes you see people throw the sandbag and then get going on their run, and that's going to add time when they come back because they're going to have to take 1 or 2 additional steps, pick up their bag and take the 1 or 2 additional steps again before they're back in the 20-meter circuit. The second mistake I find people make is that they're not careful over how they drop their bag. If you're dropping it from your shoulder, you really have no control over how it's going to land. And let's say it lands on one of these corners or upright or on this pigtail. Oftentimes it's not going to stay like that and it's going to fall. Well, if it falls that way, great, no worries. But what if it falls this way? Now it's on the line and you're going to get called back and it's going to add some time. So I never recommend that you deposit or throw your sandbag from your shoulder. I recommend that you always deposit or throw your sandbag from the cradle position or from the farmer's carry position. And I'll show you just how to do that right now. My first drop-off recommendation is from the farmer's carry position. If you're holding your sandbag from your shoulder, here's how I recommend you get into the farmer's carry position. In your last 3 to 4 steps, simply pop the sandbag off your shoulder, swing it behind you, and then use it as momentum to come towards the line. Kind of like this. Come in and swing. I recommend you place the sandbag on the floor from the farmer's carry position is to slide it down your leg. Place your foot on or slightly over the line so that it creates a buffer zone. And as you slide the sandbag down your leg, if it's on the other side of your foot, you should be relatively confident that it's not going to be touching the line. How it's going to look in real time, you're simply going to step in, touch, slide, and run. As you can see, the sandbag's not touching the line and you won't get called back. My next recommendation is from the cradle position. If you have your sandbag on your shoulder, in your last couple steps, simply pop the bag off your shoulder into the cradle position and you can hold it as such. If you're already in the cradle position, then you're probably going to be holding it like this. Regardless, make sure that the fat end of the sandbag is facing the floor so you have a large surface for it to land. When it's landing on the surface and from this lower height of about your waist, there's less chance that it's going to bounce and come back onto that black line. As soon as you step and touch that line, simply drop, turn around, and get going on your run. As you saw, it didn't bounce. It stayed exactly where I wanted it to be, and it's not on that line, so I'm not going to get called back. And even better, it's not significantly far away from that line, so I don't have to add steps when I come back in to pick it up again. For those of us who struggle lifting up this 45-pound bag with one hand, unfortunately, there's not going to be much faster way to do this than to come in, straddle the bag, or to stand behind the bag and pick it up with both our hands in this deep deadlift position. So what I recommend for you, if you fall under this category, is to work on your strength to be able to lift up that bag with one hand. For those of us who do have the strength to lift up that bag with one hand, here's what I recommend. Come in and simply put one foot on the line. Come into the side step, side lunge, Cossack squat position, the same one that I recommend we use in the rushes component of the force test. Reach down your arm and grab the bag. As you've grabbed the bag, swing it forward and then off you go. You can swing it into a cradle position, you can swing it onto your shoulder, or you can simply leave it hanging in the farmer's carry position, whichever one you prefer. How to do this efficiently is to bring your body down as you're going to touch the line, so that ideally you're touching the line with your foot at the same time as you've grabbed the bag. Then as you swing the bag forward, you're leaving the line at the same time. So it's not lift then walk, it's lift and walk at the same time, and it looks a little bit like this. Come in, touch, grab, swing, and off you go on your march. If you're coming in, touch, grab, lift, and then march, you're going to slow yourself down. While you may not have access to a sandbag to practice picking it up and dropping off while you're at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, one thing that you can do is practice pivoting around the cone. As you are aware, every side that you pick up or drop off your sandbag, you must touch the line, drop it off or pick it up, and then go on your next component of the test. However, on the opposite side, 20 meters away, you must round the cone every single time. Whether you have a sandbag or not, the technique is the same. Instead of slowing down and ensuring that you have your preferred foot every single time, go in with whatever foot is there, running or marching at full speed. Coming in, if your inside foot is leading, place it close to that cone, swing your other foot around, and then off you go. If your outside foot is leading, leave a little bit of space for your inside foot. Place it a little bit further away, your feet meet together, and then off you go. That way you can ensure that you're rounding the cone quickly and efficiently. If you want to practice this at home, place two cones about 20 meters apart. Then do some intervals after you've warmed up sufficiently, going to the cone at a relatively fast speed and turning it using these techniques. Make sure that you're alternating your feet so you practice both techniques. That way you're confident that you're going to be able to use both of them during the test day. Start with relatively few intervals, maybe 3 or 4 out backs, and taking some rest, doing about 3 or 4 sets. You can slowly increase the amount of intervals that you're doing within each repetition, and you can slowly increase the amount of sets that you do. If you're not confident in creating your own program for this, please reach out to your PSP staff who can help you with this. And there will be linked in the description below my YouTube series on injury prevention for running, which will teach you how to warm up and cool down properly and how to base build so that you can start doing this. If you haven't built a running base, I do not recommend doing intervals just yet. Another thing that you can try to practice at home is improving your ability to walk with the load. If you don't have a sandbag, use a backpack filled with textbooks or anything that can match the load of the 45-pound sandbag. Or if you don't have access to that, water jugs, potato sacks, really anything that's weighted will help you get used to improving your technique while marching fast under load. One recommendation that we have is the speed walking technique. I only recommend it for people who are well adept to doing this. If you've been a speed walker in the past or you have access to a coach that can teach you how to do this technique properly, make sure you prepare your body with no load and gradually build up to being able to do this technique with 45 pounds on your back. While it is the fastest way to do this, there are lots of risk to doing the speed walking technique. As you're speed walking, you're having to land with your leg locked out and your hip is swiveling to the side. This is creating excess pressure on your knee and your lower spine, which is laterally twisted. So the two techniques that I do recommend that most anyone can start training with load right away are the just walk fast technique and the duck walk technique. The just walk fast technique is really good for people who have high cardiovascular endurance. That's the one that I use. The duck walk technique is really good for people who have really strong muscular legs, those heavy lifters, people with a lot more power. The just walk fast technique will look like this. Basically, you're just moving your legs as fast as you can and you're standing upright. How you carry your bag is up to you. And pretty self-explanatory, right? Now the duck walk technique is a little bit more tricky. I personally don't like it because it blows my legs out, but if you have really, really strong muscular legs, it could be a faster way for you to approach this component of the test. How you're going to do it is you're going to come down in this quarter squat position and just try to take really, really long steps. Long strides, nice and low. As you can see in both techniques, 2 feet must always be touching the floor so that you're not running. And whichever one you prefer using, try them both out, find out which one works for you, and just start training. If you need help with the training plan, reach out to your PSP staff. They'll be happy to help you. With that, I encourage you to get out and start practicing these techniques. If you're looking to improve on your fitness specific to each component of the force test, I'm going to be starting a new series on that in 2 weeks. Next week, I'll be working on the technique to improve the sandbag drag component of the force test, and then we'll be looking on how to improve your fitness related to the rush, related to the sandbag lift, related to the ILS, and related to the sandbag drag specifically. So if you know that you struggle on only one of the components of the force test, or maybe 2, and you really want to target and individualize your training for that, that series will be for you. If you're looking at improving your force-related fitness as a whole, then I encourage you to tune in every single day. We do have a live workout at various bases specific to force conditioning. I'm the one that does it out here at Base 4 Wing Cold Lake, and it's every single Monday at 2 p.m. I'll link the Facebook link in the description below, and that's where you can access it. As well, I'll include our national schedule where you can see the force conditioning schedule at other bases and other live videos that they post.